Got some triggers here. I got the LaRue meticulously built trigger. I like LaRue. I haven't done a lot of purchases from them, and I certainly haven't bought a light rifle, but for little accessories and stuff, I find that they're really great. This MBT is $99. They're out of Texas, so they didn't have to charge sales tax out of state, at least to me. Curious to try this. I'm going to try this on a 308 battle rifle, and I'm going to put this Ssa-E. I'm going to put this on this LMT Mars Heavy in 308, and then I'm going to put this LaRue. I have a Aero Precision M5 lower that I'm going to drop this MBT in. I also have a G2S that I got. I purchased these two from Battlehawk Armory out of Iowa, and it was a great experience. They had a pretty good deal on both of these. I got those, and then this LaRue MBT I got directly from LaRue. So I'll do another video on this, putting this into an M5 lower. This Ssa-E, it's really an easy, it's really easy to put in. I did put one of these G2S in the M4E1 video I put up. It was a little bit more work. I looked at the instructions on the Ssa-E. So the G2S is a little bit more work, but it's like $30 cheaper. There is a slight difference in the weight. So the G2S Geiselle 2-stage is a 4.5 pound non-adjustable precision combat 2-stage trigger. Same tool steel as the Ssa, visually the same as the Ssa, except it doesn't have these laser markings. So for most people, I think the G2S is sufficient. The Ssa-E breaks a slight difference, slightly lighter difference. I think it's about a pound. I think that the Ssa-E is about a pound lighter than the G2S, but for most people it was almost negligible, and I could tell you the G2S was just perfect, I think. But anyways, the LaRue MBT 2S trigger says precision machine from S7 tool steel. That's the same steel as the Geiselle, and breaks crisply at 4.5 pounds total, but 2.5 pounds first stage and 2 pounds second stage. So I think this is comparable to the Ssa-E. And the other thing that LaRue gives you is a heavier spring. So if you are not happy with it being too light, you can swap out for this secondary spring they give to you. I did play around with this on a Aero Precision M4E1 lower, and I found that it was a little bit too long to install this without removing the safety. It was hitting on the back, so I had already gotten far enough in that build that I didn't want to remove the safety again, so I'm just going to use this on the M5. But that's something to keep in mind, is on some lowers you may have to remove the safety to accommodate this trigger because of the length. Otherwise, the Ssa-E I think doesn't have that extra weight and length on the rear, so I will let you know. But should be a really easy swap to get it into this LMT. By the way, this is actually not a bad trigger. When I shot it this weekend, I probably shot at least 100 rounds, and it wasn't bad. But hey, you know, might as well try to get it better. I also have a video on this Hops gun vise. It's okay. I mean, the problem with it is that different stock sizes and shapes are a little weird to get it tightened down. For really light work, like basic cleaning, it's all right. If you need something that grips harder, you know, a vise block is good. I have a video on these No-Mar blocks, or just something that isn't all, you know, really light duty plastic. There's better ones. This one's okay. It's cheap enough that I'm okay with this purchase. But you can see how it kind of locks down, and it gets it in a decent position, and it's got pretty good storage. So I will put a link to this too if anybody needs a basic set. The other thing I don't like about this is it's kind of large to store it. It's big rack basically that doesn't fold up, but it's decent. I mean, it does the trick. So this is what they give you. They give you your trigger with the disconnector already connected in there, and the hammer. It's got the spring on it already. And this is kind of nice. They give you a solid slave pin. This is going to help us with the install. And they give you the Go Juice. Tasty. The G2S has a few more parts. See Bill Geisel's earrings in there on the bottom, and a couple more steps. So if you don't want to deal with that, just pay the extra money and get the Ssa-E. And then this slave pin is kind of nice because it'll take the place of the pin and line everything up while you're reinserting the pin. So if you've ever wondered what these two pins were on the AR series of lowers, they hold in, this one holds in the trigger, and then this one holds in the hammer. So the first step here is this pin right here is holding in, this is a separate piece that's under spring tension. So the first step is to get this pin out and install the little slave pin. So we're just going to bring that over from the side and push it through, and then it'll hold this other part in place while we seat it. So I just came through on the side. Now keep in mind this has a different shape here. See that? There's no ring on this side. So I just came through from the side. I did have to push this disconnector down. I did have to push this disconnector down a little bit just to get it to seat. Should be in there and ready to go in. So we're gonna remove the old trigger by just getting these two pins out. I'm using a roll punch it's just got that little tip on it so it won't mar what I'm hitting. So got the top pin out, just tapped it through, and we'll put the pin back in here. Now one thing to keep in mind is this will wobble a little bit as you're removing it, so I just held it over with my hand. So same thing, next step, just give that a little light tap out. Well, I wasn't able to get the trigger past the safety, so Geiselle, you were wrong. I do have to remove the safety. So one cool thing about this Nomar Vise block is that it works upside down as well. Got everything lubricated. Now it's going to take the trigger. These the spring will fold up in front of it, drop it in, and then you push down, line up the hole, and then get this pin in with the groove on the left hand side and lubricate this pin a little bit. So very easy that Geiselle gave you that slave pin. They kind of work together, and then you can seat that pin so easy. This is a nice thing that they did. I mean, it's not a cheap trigger, so you'd expect them to have a little bonus included, but makes it a lot easier. So now that we got that done, so they want us to take the hammer, remove the pin. So got the pin out. He wants you to put a drop of lube in the little hammer pivot, and he wants a drop of lube on the pin. Very, very good. So these legs are supposed to sit on top of this pin, and then keep in mind this hammer face here will be striking forward. So put the legs in here behind this pin, and then push this. Sometimes you have to use a glove because this is sharp, but what you're trying to do is push it so that hole right there lines up. And of course, I've got the pin in my other hand, and then that sleeve goes in. and then that sleeve goes in, and then you can sort of wiggle it till it's in the right spot. Now you can hit this just a tiny bit, but you don't want to force it, so it should be pretty easy to get in. The trick is to just push this to line up the hole on the other side. And so I'm just giving it little light taps. If you encounter resistance, it's not matched up. So that should do it. The pins are seated. We got the lube on, and it should come back. Now don't squeeze the trigger and let the hammer fall right into the receiver. That could potentially mess things up, so you're always going to want to put your finger in front of it. So it's good to go. I mean, I can't fully test it because I don't want it to slam right there, but feels good, feels nice, feels great. All right, so that's the install. Make sure to check your safety again if you took it off. You want to make sure that that's in right. That hex key there doesn't need a lot of torque. You should try to keep in mind as you're taking things apart how hard it was to get it apart, especially if it's a factory. If it was factory assembled and you don't notice that it's, you know, walked out or whatever. So that didn't take a lot of force, so I didn't put a ton of force. I did get it snug. The grip screw didn't take a lot of force either, so I got it just close, maybe a little bit more snug than the factory had it. And safety works fine, trigger works fine. So yeah, it's an easy install. Shouldn't take too long. If you don't even have to take your safety out, it's much quicker. But anyways, you can do it. It's not a big deal. I think some of the guys I've talked to have been like, oh, the Geiselle trigger, I gotta do work. So I will be putting in the LaRue and testing that versus the Ssa-E. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber. Remember, on YouTube, you pick the content that you want to promote. So we really do appreciate your support, and thank you everybody for watching.